Okay, so today we're on episode 15. This is kind of like a season two, basically, is what I'm thinking about these podcasts now, because I took a break for a while. Okay, so we're starting back with question 71. I'm going to try and do most of the questions in blocks of 10. Just for myself, it's a little bit easier. So, 71, how can we reduce pollution? Okay, well, obviously, the reduce, reuse, recycle, those three ideas are really great. I try and reuse like any plastic bags that I get, or if I go to the supermarket, I don't take any plastic bags. I take the eco bags, the ones made out of like a fabric, you know. I think also, well, hybrid cars, electric cars are going to help with that. Obviously, the batteries will cause some pollution and things like this, but I think in general, all of the CO2 given out by cars, or carbon monoxide, sorry, is around 20% max, maybe, in the global sphere of things. So, how to reduce pollution? I think people should use public transport a little bit more, maybe cycle or walk if you can. I think also that people should not try and compulsively buy clothes all the time, which is something that people don't really think about, you know. But these like cheap T-shirts that in Ireland would cost like €1 or €2, or else here in Mexico that would cost 50 to 80 pesos, maybe. That would cut down a lot for not polluting as much as, well, most people that buy clothes like compulsively and never use them, you know. So I also think that obviously, like here in Mexico, people like do throw rubbish out of their windows at traffic lights, which is kind of crazy because I grew up in Ireland where it was always a very, very clean country, very little like pollution and things like this. And then I remember as a child in primary school, like all of the kids like cleaning up the play yard or the schoolyard, you know, before they went back in after break. Little things like that. I think it's really important to educate kids from a young age that it can be like fun, like tidying up, and like it's nice to have things clean and tidy. So I think that's really important. And obviously companies then, I think a lot of companies here, rather than have like big plumes of like dark gray or black smoke, they've added like colorants or chemicals to it so that it's actually like thick white, which isn't really great either, but you know, it's a step in the right direction, I think. But yeah, trying to have zero emissions or as little as possible, or to try and change the chemical structure or composition of the materials that they're making so that they wouldn't pollute as much. Okay, 72. What are the dangers of technology? Well, obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is social media and bullying that some teenagers or kids suffer from online. I think the dangers of technology then as well is that people get very, very addicted to watching TV compulsively, or that it's fine to. Sorry, I put my phone on silent. Okay, I think a lot of people would be fine doing 45 minutes of watching a TV show, but not 45 minutes of exercising or something like that, or even spending time outside. So I think that's a big issue then as well. That does probably need to change as well, but unfortunately, it's kind of getting worse. A lot of people are very antisocial now as well because they don't really like interact or talk. I think one of my worst fears is that my wife and I would just sit there in silence, although she's probably sick of me talking all the time anyway. But yeah, I think it's really sad when I go to a restaurant and like the two kids and the two parents are all on their phone and no one's talking. I think that's really, really upsetting to see. But then also as well, I think it's very, very boring, you know, when someone's just on their phone all the time. I think the modern word is called frazzled. So when you're talking to somebody and they pull out their phone and they're just texting away, basically giving you the finger saying like, oh yeah, you're not that important and I don't need to give you any attention, you know. So I think that's a really big issue. What do you think the world would be like if the Nazis won World War II? Okay, so this is question 73. Excuse me. Okay, so I got this question from a novel, short story by Philip K. Dick called The Man in the High Castle. Definitely would recommend to watch that. I think there's 4 seasons and about 10 or 12 episodes each. It's on Amazon Prime. Really great show. A little bit lost around season 2 or 3, but definitely worth watching. So I think that story is very interesting because they basically say that the Japanese take over the West Coast, and then the Colorado and the Rockies basically is like a neutral zone, and then after that, then it's all Nazi controlled territory. Really great idea, you know. I think that technology would be far more advanced than now. There would be, well, less Jewish people, less disabled people mentally and physically. Anybody of color would basically be relegated to a second class citizen. very restrictive societal rules and things like that. Very, very controlled, you know. So I think that medical technology and technology in general, especially like weaponizing technology, would have been far more advanced if they had won World War II. And yeah, like obviously, I think the plan was that Ireland was going to be turned into basically a big airport, Operation Green, and then Mexico was supposed to be basically like a big petrol station. That was it. Is that's what Hitler's plan was? Is to basically use that in the middle of America, of the Americas, to refuel all of his ships and planes and everything like that, so that he could like get around the world easier. So definitely, yeah. Like I mean, I think anybody of color would be basically a second-class citizen. They would be trying to exterminate all Jewish people from the face of the planet, or anybody as well that was kind of like anti-establishment or anything like that. And heavily, like, I mean, if we think that we have a lot of propaganda now, it would have been 20 times more if the Nazis had won, you know. So, really good. Question 74. Would you like to be a king or a queen? Why or why not? Okay. Obviously, not a queen, although that's your right if you want to do it. To be a king, I don't think so. I think a lot of people think that it can sound very attractive and things like that, but I generally think that as a king, you're told what to do all the time. From day one, you're kind of told like, oh, we don't eat like this, we don't talk like this is how you need to sit, this is the legacy of your family, everything like that. So I don't think you can basically do anything that you want, you know, so it's a very controlled or I suppose like it sounds kind of strange, but a very oppressive kind of a life, you know, and I think that they don't have their own identity because you're born into that legacy and that identity, and that's your inheritance basically, is the to continue this ridiculous fad, or well, not fad but tradition that these families have, you know. So definitely not, wouldn't like to be a king. Okay, 75. What are some conspiracy theories that you know about or believe? Okay, so John F. Kennedy, fake moon landing, the Twin Towers being like set up like a false flag operation, Operation Northwoods that kind of started the Vietnam War. What else then? Global banking conspiracies, I suppose. All these different things, like a global elite cabal that can kind of control everything. I really don't believe a lot of them. I don't know about the Twin Towers. I'm kind of on the fence. I've been changing my mind every couple of months, or every couple of years, really, to be honest, depending on which documentary you watch. I definitely think we went to the moon. Earth is not flat. It's not hollow. Anything like that. Ridiculous. JFK, I got really, really into the JFK conspiracy. I was around like 8 or 9 when the JFK movie came out. I think it's 94. But yeah, like, I mean, I definitely think that there was something else going on there than what you're presented with. Actually, Oliver Stone just released, I think it was last year actually, Through the Looking Glass. It's like JFK revisited. Definitely worth watching as well. But yeah, I definitely think that there was a conspiracy about murdering and taking out JFK. When you watch the movie as well, 13 Days, it's really fantastic. And it shows that JFK was really trying to change America. He was trying to get them off of the dollar, off of the Federal Reserve, for example, and go back to gold. Yeah, just like he had a very clear vision of what he kind of, how he wanted to change things, and talking about the global military industrial complex, but obviously then still in the United States. So all of these different things definitely led to something going on in the background. You know, it doesn't make sense, a lot of the information you're presented with. And what else? There was another conspiracy theory, I think in the early 80s, in Chiapas, a state that's in the south of Mexico in the Riviera, that is, it's actually the same size as Ireland, this really beautiful place that I really want to visit, but that the Mexican government was giving a so-called vaccine to these people, these indigenous people that lived in the jungle, and it basically made all of the people sterile, and it was kind of controlling the population so that they wouldn't spread, you know, which is very, very sick when you think about that. So I would believe something like that. What else? Well, no, I think that's about it. I think that's enough for that question anyway. You can think about that yourself. How would your life be different if you had grown up in a different country? Okay, so in Ireland, families are close, but not as close as Mexican families. So I think when Mexican families are close, it's very good if it's healthy, and if it's toxic, it's probably the worst and the saddest thing you can ever be part of or see. And I've seen a lot of that in my coaching courses and things like this, where Parents are manipulating their children in their 30s and 40s to basically take money from them. Obviously helping your family with money and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But when your family have been really selfish or lazy and don't want to improve, I think that's very, very toxic. So I think that, yeah, like if I'd grown up in Mexico, I think I would be probably closer to my family, probably a little bit more controlled. Probably wouldn't respect women as much, although I would like to think that I would. Um, what else? I think my perception of the world would be very, very different. I think from Mexico, the vision is very narrow, so that the whole world seems like it's so, so big. Whereas when you start traveling and stuff like that, it doesn't really seem that big in general. So I think that's a very important thing. Growing up in another Catholic country would have been strange because I always say that Jesus really suffered when he came to Mexico because, yeah, it's very bloody and very grotesque, the depiction of Jesus here. And he's whiter, which is crazy, yeah. But, okay, anyway, continuing on. 77. All right, what else could you add to a phone to improve it? Okay, I still think that, I don't know, if you added like a little printer onto the back to print like tickets for like an invoice or something like that, it would be great. Then, what else? I don't know, we have fingerprints now, we have retina scanning, all these different things. I don't use the retina thing, fingerprint, yeah. What else? I don't know. I mean, it would be cool. Like I know Motorola has a special lens that you can clip onto the outside of a phone, so you can basically make it into like a projector, which is really really cool. So that would be great then as well. But I don't get this fad that all of the phones have now about having like 3 million cameras on the back and stuff like this. I think it's just a way of selling more phones. Okay, 78. If you could be anywhere else right now, where would you be? Okay, I'd probably be in Cancun or some beach around that area, maybe Holbox, or Contoy for the day or something like this. In the beach, in the water, swimming a lot, eating like a pig, drinking like a fish, having fun, getting sunburnt, relaxing, enjoying myself, spending time outside in nature, definitely. Would love to be doing that right now. If you could be anyone else in the world, who would you be? In the past, when I used to do this years ago, when Obama was president, I said that I would love to see how heavy one day as an American president is. Because if you look at the photos of Barack Obama before and after his 2 terms as president, it's really incredible how much he aged. It's only 8 years. It sounds like a long time, but it really isn't in the whole scheme of things. But like he obviously aged like maybe 3 times more than that. Trump as president, it would have been interesting. 8 cans of Coke a day and 6 hours of social media and like 10 hours of TV. Absolutely crazy. But anybody else now, currently? I don't know, maybe like an athlete or something like that, like an NBA star. So it would be really cool to see how hard they're training and then what's going through their mind in the game, if anything at all. But yeah, probably a professional athlete. Okay, if you could change one thing about Mexico, what would you change? Probably, I mean, I always say education, but obviously safety towards women. So I teach like teenagers and like young girls between like, I don't know, 14 and 20, as well as older than that. But yeah, some of my students that I know for years, like, 15, 16, 17-year-olds saying like, oh, I was getting the bus one day and this old guy grabbed my leg, or that they've been touched or abused and that kind of thing. It's really horrible. So I think like safety for women is a very big priority in Mexico, and generally the kind of the message that you're getting from the Mexican government is that women are disposable, or it's not even that they're second-class citizens, is that they're kind of like a piece of meat. It's absolutely horrible. But anyway, obviously that is connected to education. I think there should be mandatory third-level education for all people, and it should be free. But I think the structure should change. So I do think it would be a good idea that, okay, when you're 18, you kind of go through like a vocational year, basically, and you try lots of different things and see which one you're best at. But then obviously one route would be for people to go to university. Another one then would be for like social workers or carers or something like that, or medical staff. And then another one then would be like, I suppose, hard skills or a trade, So obviously university isn't for everybody, neither is social service. So yeah, like teaching people how to be plumbers or electricians. Ebanista is the word in Spanish for a carver, basically, from wood. All of that kind of stuff, welders, that kind of stuff is really, really needed here. because it's very good work and very honorable as well, and you make really, really good money if you have that, well, not vision, but if you have that, I don't know, that idea or mindset that you want to have your own business, you can make a very healthy living, you know. And I know a lot of people here that their father was like a construction worker and had his own team and everything like that. Really good, like a foreman, basically. Okay, should everyone be allowed to vote? I think yes. I do think that I do. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory, but like I think 8 out of 10 or 85% of all criminals are black or Latino, as far as I know, in the United States that are in prison. There's more than the population of Ireland in the prison of the United in the prison system of the United States, which I really think is crazy. It's definitely a very very good money making machine, but I think that I don't know. I mean, like if you go to jail and you're convicted of a crime, you lose the right to vote for 5 years, maybe 10, but not the rest of your life. Because I mean, there's a lot of cases where some kid who was like 17 got thrown into jail for 60 years and he gets paroled at like, I don't know, 55, and he's been in jail for 40 years and completely redeemed himself and reinvented himself, you know, and then he still doesn't have the right to vote, which is kind of crazy. Okay, so we're going to stop here. That's question 81. So today we did, yeah, 71 to 81. Really great, you know. So, I mean, in the next episode, we're going to do 82, from 82 onwards. So we're up to nearly halfway in all the questions. We have 202 to get through on this level, and then after that, then I'm going to be doing the upper intermediate questions, which are far more dense and heavy, and then after that, the advanced questions, which are even more so. Okay, so really great. Like, subscribe, comment if you want. It's on YouTube or Spotify. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.